Man, I tell you, it's so busy now, and I think with having the ice and the weather, and you're stuck in your house, and it's like you can't wait to get out. Can't wait for the sun to start shining. Can't wait. I can't wait to quit wearing so many layers of clothes. Or going to a baseball game and having to bring. I used to think, no judgment. You see a guy over there and he's got a blanket around him at a ball game, and all this, and I would freeze. I was like, I ain't putting that on. That's like putting a throw on. I'm not fixing to wear that. It just didn't look very masculine, you know. And now, man, I'm wearing like two hoodies, multiple blankets. I'm wrapped up like my wife watching a TV series sitting at a baseball game. So I'm so ready for that to be over. I'm just saying. But anyways, we're on the edge of that. Our lives do get faster, typically. Businesses, kids, just stuff. So it's also a time to really draw near to God too, because we can get off track. We can get too distracted. We can get too busy, and so we need to be mindful of that. I need to be mindful of that, right? Of those things. So, but anyways, we want to talk about something this morning. Obviously, we're coming into Easter. What an incredible time, right? I think most of y'all, I'm sure, will be at service. But I wanted to talk about something. I think a little bit of a different angle, because I always like to challenge our perspectives and our thought process, because we're gonna hear certain things that we know we're gonna hear around this time. But what if we thought of things a little bit different? So I was thinking and processing times in your life. I just had this conversation last night with someone. Times in your life where maybe you thought there was going to be an outcome, and the outcome did not turn out to be what you had thought. Now, that could be a relationship, that could be a job, that could be, I mean, you could go back to you were younger. You could be your family growing up. I always thought, when I was younger, that I couldn't have a better life. The situation with family, where we are, the family business, all these many things. Like I had this, like I just did, right? It was just, with our marriage, when Lindsay and I got married, I never, you could not have convinced me that I would not be a perfect husband or a perfect father. I'm just saying. I mean, it was the point where I would see people before we really had kids. I said, boy, when we have kids, I'm telling you, that kid needs, I'd spank him right there, you know. Or I wouldn't tolerate that. I mean, they need to get a handle on these kids, right? I wouldn't spoil my kids. They're gonna work. I don't want to face the argument. I'm like, whatever. Venmo, Cash App, how you want it. Just go on, right? I was taught that way, right? So, but I never would have thought I would, But I looked at us, well, they need to work. That's probably what's wrong with them, whatever, right? The marriage fell. Somebody's marriage fell. I'm like, our marriage, no, no way, right? Yeah. I look at guys, and this was, earlier on, right? I look at these guys, and I'm like, glad I'm not that guy. He's a train wreck. Look at my mother went through alcoholism, and I was like, I remember promising to Lindsay when we were young, because we have been together since we were 13, except for like 2.5 years. We're 44, and I remember like promising her I would never be like my mother. I would never imitate any of those things. Like, that's crazy. I would never sacrifice our marriage and do something so reckless. I would never be addicted to alcohol. Would never do that, ever. And you think about all those things, like with business. Oh, I'm going to be so successful. Like my drive has always been there. It's always, since I was young, my drive is always, I've always been driven. Now, where that destination was may not have been right. The vehicle that I drove to get there may not have been right. Right? But that's never been a problem. But even career, like I would worked at my father's store, and I was like, oh, Casabella Furniture. This is like I'm the guy that's going to take this multiple generations. I was already thinking, hey, Carter, Emma, Ava, like who is going to succeed me? Like this is going to be, it was my kid dream. It just was, right? And then I had my own stores, right? So then I opened up my own stores, left that. This is going to be like, I was just in my mind, like, oh man, this is going to be huge, all these things, right? Then I worked for these monster companies, and I'm on their planes, and I'm on this stuff, and I'm like, oh yeah, all these things, right? But in all those things, I created like an outcome with just the resources that I had in my mind, in my heart, in my knowledge, but I already created an outcome and like this bar that I had set without, it was really just like, a dream, or a wish, but it was really truth to me at that time. But I was willing to put all chips in a lot of things, even though I wasn't thinking about the point here, this moment here to this moment here. I didn't think about all that in between, right? When Carter started playing baseball, I immediately in my mind, he's my child for one, but immediately in my mind, I'm like, oh, he's going to go here. I didn't think about what it's going to take to get to there, and he didn't either, right? There were times where I haven't had a lot of ride or die guys, friends. Now I think I have plenty, right? But I didn't have but a few. But a lot of those guys, I thought I've never really had these friendships, right? So I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be my best friend forever. We're totally get along. I can tolerate them. They can tolerate me. Our wives are good. All these things, and those relationships are no longer around, right? Then you think about, well, would I do some of the things that I did had I known the outcome, right? Would I have taken this job that I thought was such a big deal, I couldn't wait to put it on LinkedIn, couldn't wait to tell somebody, had I known what that outcome would have been on that deal? Would I have invested in that relationship with those guys had I known how that panned out? Would I have gotten what I'd ever really started drinking had I known what the outcome of that would have been? But I still done it? Would I had talked to my wife or disrespected her or been so narcissistic, made it all about me, had I known what the repercussions of those things were? How one action could take me a year to get forgiven, literally forgiven or forgotten, right? Would I have done all those things? Would I have took those risks? Would I have went down that path? Would I have done? I don't know. Maybe not. And I say this because what I wanted to work into is you think about Jesus. He knew and he still did it. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to just kind of hit these spots here through this, but he didn't go to the cross blind. He went fully aware. What he knew didn't change how he loved, served, or obeyed. He knew that what the end result was going to be. He knew what was going to have to happen, but he spoke that too, and also was he knew that wasn't going to be eternal either. He's going to be with his Father. These processes, but did he know that his guys, his 12 disciples, in the beginning, did he know that Judas was specifically going to do what he did? Did he know that Peter was going to deny him until he denied him? Did Jesus know that when he told them to stay on guard, that he'd come around the corner and they'd all be asleep? Hey guys, where y'all at? Did he know that he was going to be on the cross alone? Chris, I went to your house. I healed your wife of 18 years. Hey guys, y'all lowered the guy through the roof. I healed him. Where are y'all at? Leper, where are you at? Demon-possessed man, where are you at? Demon-possessed woman, where are you at? Where are those 4,000 people I fed? Where are all these other thousands of people I fed? Where are all those people that were chanting Hosanna? Now I'm on the cross. There's tons of people around me, but where are my people at? Where are my people? And I think he's Jesus. He is incredible. He did all that and was okay with the fact that he was doing what he was called to do, what he was meant to do, in his purpose, and there was no straying from that. And guys, we live in a society and a mindset where we can get offended by anything. I'm never going to church back there again. Why? Well, I walked by 2 people in the parking lot. They never even said anything to me. Well, what did you want them to say to you? You know what I'm saying? Like, good morning. Hey, you've never been here before. I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't matter, because if we have that kind of mindset, you can't appease that. Because we already have like an agenda and an idea, an attitude, where you just can't. I've been in retail. Like, there's some customers, like, I know, I'm like, I don't want to sell them, because I know they're going to be an issue, right? Y'all do, like Obi, some of these guys in here, y'all do construction. Like, some of y'all, when y'all go and do a bid on a home, you can tell in a couple minutes, you're like, I'm fixing to price this thing so high up, because this is not going to be worth the squeeze, because you're going to have a problem with everything. You're going to have an issue with everything, and I'm going to wish I never, and I'm never going to get my final check from you, And it's different things for different people, right? But what if you knew Jesus, it amazes me to think about that, and I reflected back to my life, like, whatever I've been through is so minute to what he went through. It doesn't even hold a candle. And see, we focus on the cross, but that's like the finale. That wasn't like the first obstacle, or the first, like, where people have sympathy and like empathy because they put themselves in, like, you had Passion of the Christ movie, right? And you see how he was beaten, and he was, all this stuff, and it's like super. But rewind this back to before he was even born. And first point, he was hunted, but he never hid. In Matthew 2:13 says, get up, take the child and his mother. Herod is going to search for the child to kill him. Pressured and confused him, it confirmed his calling. I mean, but when Herod heard about this, he was already under persecution. He was already being sought after. He is in the womb. Like, just the thought of this Messiah, this king, this prince that is getting, he was already, before he even touched the ground, this guy, he is already a target on his back. He was used, but he still served. In Matthew 26:40 it says, couldn't you stay awake from me 1 hour? If you need people to show up for you to stay faithful, you'll quit. That is so powerful, right? If God calls on you to come to Fight Club or to serve or to be at church, and you're like, well, so-and-so's not going to be there, and you just bail on that idea. Or if your heart and your passion is really like, I'm going to do X, God's calling me on doing X, you've got to stay the path. Because even though when Jesus came back to his guys and said, y'all stay awake, whatever, he comes back and they're asleep, he's like, I don't know about y'all, but I'd have trouble sleeping. I'd be so wired up. One, you're being chased. You know what I'm saying? Like, I would think like at any moment, like people are going to come out of and imprison me or something, right? Because I'm with the Messiah that's being hunted. But these guys can go to sleep somehow. It's just crazy. If you think about this stuff. Starting Fight Club. It wasn't called Fight Club. It was called 3 other names probably before that. Okay? It started with a book. It started with, there was like this idea that I felt like God was telling me, like this vision that God was telling me. But my thoughts is, Sean, why would he tell me? You know? And people don't understand a lot of those things because you've never allowed yourself to be surrendered enough to hear it. But when I felt like God was saying stuff to me, I was 100% honest with you, I was 50-50 it was God. Because I was like, why me? Look at this past. Look at this stuff that's happened. So why would God tell me that I need to do this? And there has been 1,000 obstacles, more so on the front side of it, that would distract me or stray me from following what I feel like God's called me to do. So like in your lives, you think about that. It's like, what is it that is? Maybe God's not calling you to do something specific. Maybe he is. But you think like, hey, Jesus didn't stray. He just kept moving. He just kept going. He didn't hunker down in the temple. He could have. I'm sure if a man fed 5,000 people, don't y'all think he could have rounded up an army bigger than any army on the earth at that time? I mean, who would not want to be a part of that army? We don't have any weapons. You know, he gets a rock and everybody's got 1,000 swords. You're like, how'd that happen? I mean, he could have done it. I mean, he took some bread and some fed fish and fed thousands, right? Who would not? How could he could have easily just filled a castle, filled the walls. He didn't do that. He kept moving. He kept looking for people. Kept searching after people. He's in this day and time. He sought after you. Always has. And I think about it like with life now. Like, does God ever feel like I've abandoned him? Does God ever feel like I'm not following him? I'm sure at some points. He was betrayed, but he wasn't bitter. In Luke 23:34, it says, Father, forgive them because they don't know what they're doing. You can't carry bitterness and purpose at the same time. I have. 100%. I would get aggravated about something. I still do. But you can't do it. What if Jesus, in all these different circumstances that he was put in, predicaments he was put in, what if he just decided not to do it? He's like, this is like, I'm tired. I am tired. You know, first thing I learned, from my mother, and first thing, people have been trying to attack me my entire life for what I'm called to do. Some of you feel like you have never had a good circumstance. Some of you have went through your entire life hardship. And I am sympathetic to that. Some of you have not. Some of you have went through some stages of it. In some instances, whether it be a business or financials or wife or grief or divorce or addiction or something, right? What keeps you from staying in that mindset or staying in that life? You know? I believe everybody here has some kind of testimony. Small or large. But what keeps you from not just staying that way? You know, Marv, what keeps me from 8.5 years ago? I'm nowhere near the same person, right? What kept me from not being an alcoholic? You know, like what kept me from not disrespecting my wife and my kids? You know, just thought I was a good dad. I was bull crap. What was it? What was it? Kids are going to respect me, and my wife's going to, you know. But what turned that? Really think about that. Does anybody here think I did it? Could I have done it? I was drinking a fifth of liquor, case of beer every night in about a 2-hour window because I wasn't a functioning alcoholic. So, like when I moved here for the first 2 months, I was still an alcoholic, right? So I based out of Rivergate at that Ashley store, which that's a little bit of hell in itself right there, right? And I would when I left for to get a drink at the gas station, right? I would leave my watch and my phone in the store so Lindsay couldn't track me on Life 360. And there's a liquor store by the pool hall or whatever. Everybody knows where. If you're local, you know where I'm talking about. On the side of Rivergate, right? I'd go get the liquor there, and then I would get beer and it'd be in my vehicle. So as soon as I got off work, right, I'd have it. And so let's say that exit 1, Confederate Drive. So from Confederate Drive till I lived on Indian Lake behind the theater in Lofts or something like that over there. I'd drink a pint of Jim or Jack between there and there, just straight, right? And then I would drink the case, in the next hour-ish, right? Sometimes I would get a fifth because it's cheaper to do that. And then I'd say that'd give me 2 nights. It didn't. I drank that night too, right? So I was like, well, crap. So I was like, I had to be more responsible. So I kept it to a pint because I didn't want to overdrink. You know what I'm saying? The first 2 times I came to church, I was still drunk, still intoxicated. Here, I can take you to where I sat. I've joked about it. One time I sat down and everybody was. I sat down and because I wanted Lindsay to see I was at church. She hadn't moved here yet, And I've told this. Some of y'all haven't heard this. I was sitting there and I didn't know where to sit. The first time I sat in the very back because I just needed to see myself checked in, and then I didn't care where I sat. I sat literally at the back door in the center so I could just walk right back out that door quick and get out the door. But the second time I came, I sat down and I noticed everybody around me was looking at me like I was super weird. And I was like, well, this church sucks. Like, I knew I shouldn't have came here. I just thought that, right? And then they started service and the woman came and sat in a bar stool in front of me staring at me. I was like, what is going on here? And then she started doing sign language. And I was like, nobody was rude. I was in the wrong section. It was awkward. So when they got up and shook hands, I moved on to another area, or whatever, right? But all this is fun. But you know what I'm saying? Like so how do you take somebody that's like that, right? I've had to file bankruptcy because I lost the business. Also, my wife's like, I'm not moving there. Everybody knows, like, I'm done. The kids are just destroyed. No clue to me, right? I had no clue. I was stupid. I wasn't thinking, whatever. So how does that stop? Me? My capabilities? Think about it. Then who did it? Can we agree it would be God? Because, Lonnie, there was no family around. There was no in-laws. There were no parents. There was no my guys. I was going to the cross alone. I walked up the hill carrying my cross. Humility. It's on the table now. You might as well put it out there. Don't hold anything back because you don't want anything hidden come back out 2 years after you done got back in good graces and then something hits the fan. You're like, I didn't think you cared about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, you better just put it out there. Take the beating, right? But Jesus did that alone for us. So like all the sin that I did, for that. Where he knew that I was going to be this person, hoping that I would figure it out maybe a little sooner. But he's like, no, I have this other thing for you that you, and then I'm going to give you, like it's not going to end. I'm going to continue feeding you. You keep walking closer to me, I'm going to amaze you. That's why when people are going through hard times, I'm like, God can remove that for you. He can do it because of what he did for us. None of us, I didn't earn that. I'm not owed anything, right? Like he doesn't owe me anything. But he did it because of this love. The God sent his son here because of his love. His death, burial, and resurrection because of his love. So all the things that we've done bad, the things that we've announced or confessed, and the things that we've kept hidden, he still did that for us. By himself. I think about it as think about him carrying the cross and him just, going through that. I cannot imagine that. I did not go through that. But I do feel some similarities in some things that can be relatable to me and to you. He was clear, but not believed. In Matthew 16:21 says, Jesus began to point out that it was necessary for him to go to Jerusalem, be killed, and be raised. Just because they don't see it doesn't mean God didn't say it. Is there something in your heart and your mind that you can lead not only yourself, but the ones that you love? With complete faith. Can we remove stuff out of our lives? Can I remove stuff out of my life and allow room for God to get in to do it? Can I quit something? Or can I just say, I need to be more educated in something so I can be better at X? I want to be a better husband. Maybe you're not married. Maybe but you still want to get married one day. I mean, is there something you could do to yourself right now to equip you to be like the best husband one day to somebody? Like round 2, hopefully not, Is there something you can do to prepare for that? Is there something you could do to be a better parent? Is there something you could do? Let's say you don't have kids and you don't have a wife. Okay. Is there something you could do to be a better brother in Christ? Well, my daughter teaches at a school where I didn't realize, things were that bad around here in some areas. I'm just naive to it. Kids that wearing the same clothes every single day. That, like, when she has snack time, it could be a fight. Because they're not getting snacks. If they don't get it to school, they're not getting it. Where, you look in our junk cabinet, it's bad. It's like, I've asked her, I'm like, would you please take all this mess to eat with school with you and get rid of it, But their cabinets don't have those things. They've never heard I love you. They've never heard, any encouragement or anything. There's kids, so there's so many different ways that God can use us. It's not just your predictable ways. There's so many different opportunities that he can use us. I don't know what your path is, but I would challenge you to think about, God, where do you want me to go? Where's that look like? He was sinless and he still suffered. In 1 Peter 2:22-23, he said, he did not commit sin when he was insulted. He did not insult in return. Doing right won't always feel right, but it always will be right. I'm going to say there's not too many I think that's when I know a lot of you guys just play there's been few times where I've been insulted that I did not come back with something else. Has anybody ever been insulted? Has anybody had somebody say something to them where it's like, you may have gotten in a fight too. If you didn't, you spoke back, you mirrored what they said to you, and maybe a little bit deeper. I've done it a lot. I would say I've just, in the last handful of years, I've gotten better about not doing that, right? But, when Jesus was being beaten, when he was, being, spit on, mocked, and thrown stuff at, like, he didn't say anything negatively to people. I'd be like, hey, didn't I just, hey, weren't you there? You were part of that group together. I fed you, you were starving and you got food. Now you're throwing lettuce at me? I don't know, right? Somebody, spit on them. You're like, hey, wasn't it your aunt that I healed? I mean, there was nothing. Because that's not who the God we serve. Our God doesn't serve, our God we say we didn't serve says, well, I tell you what, I'll forgive you and I'll remove this burden from you, but under this circumstance. Did anybody get a circumstance when they got forgiven for something? Like was it a negotiation? Was it like a barter, or was it just forgiven? I mean, mine was just forgiven. Now, granted, there's responsibility, I feel like, after that. But you think about that. I do. I think about that. And he felt it, but he didn't follow it. In Luke 22:42, it says, not my will, but yours be done. You can feel it and still not follow it. To follow God's will, it's like when I started Fight Club, I felt like God was showing me things. And I would share it with people, and I think some of them thought it was kind of crazy because it didn't make sense, or maybe it didn't make sense to me. But it was me trying to process, is that me or is that God? Is that me trying to be like seen? Is it me trying to get credit for everything, or is that really God? It's really hard for men, I think more than women, for us not to be like wanting credit for stuff, like doing things. I mean, I hear it. When we say I and me in things, my group at Recovery Refuge and my table and I do this and I do that, and I'm like, I've done it 100%, right? But it's like, was that God's will? Or are we just trying to win an award, or you're just hoping Robbie recognizes you walking through the herd in and out of church, and to give you that, like, like to make you feel like, oh yeah, Robbie talked to me today. That happens. It happens. Just saying. Yeah. But that's something just to puff you up. If you come to Fight Club to tell your wife, I've been at Fight Club, she don't care. You know what she cares about? What you get from Fight Club. You go to 17 Bible studies. I mean, granted, God is probably appreciative, right? But not if you're not going with intent and vision and following His path. But if you're going to just check boxes, or maybe you're just a big doer, right? It's everything we do is intentional, and that's what He did for us. He said He didn't want it to be His will. He didn't want it to be His. He wanted it to be God's. And what we do, we have to say the same thing. And then the last part, it says He's finished. He finished when He could have quit. It is finished. Purpose is proven in what you finish, not what you start. How many times have you started a diet and it lasted until that afternoon? So y'all may or may not know this, but I have an extreme sweet tooth. Extreme. I think it has something to do with ADHD. Up until I have to repent, I'm going to repent in front of y'all. I'm going to repent in front of y'all. No judgment. If y'all judge me, I will judge you. I'm going to not follow what I said here. I am totally going to do opposite of what I've talked about. I'm going to judge you. And I'm going to be bitter, and I'm going to say something back.
You're going to be human.
I'm going to be human. Yeah, I'll say, forgive me, God. Okay? Y'all pray for me. Okay? Thanksgiving, we went to Lindsay's dad's, and they're big. They're small town, right? That's where we're from, and Sam's is like like Opryland to everybody. So you can get a tub of M&Ms, peanut M&Ms, $14. You know, so he got really upset because he had them on the counter, and we started going by, and that bucket was gone. Where he's thinking, I got to go back to Sam's. Well, Sam's is an hour drive from there, right? So he was upset because he was like, basically he has to wait until he goes back. Okay. Well, it's unfortunate because when I got back, my Sam's is only 2 miles from my house. So from that week up until about 3 weeks ago, I was eating a bucket of those a week. Yeah, don't judge me. That's what the crap. I just said. Y'all, this is not a safe place for me to confess my sins. Yeah. Yes. Just not on this area here. The M&M, I still have some M&Ms around this area. And I'm not kidding y'all. I have a picture when my back was out a couple weeks ago. Emma texted me, she said, Dad, can I get you anything? I mean, I couldn't move. I mean, I'm telling you, it was bad. It was super bad. Disc, whatever, who knows. And I'm telling you, I'm not moving. And it was like, Dad, can I get you anything? She's thinking, medicine, heating pad, ice pack, something like that. I said, yes. Can you go by Sam's? And I ran out. Can you get me some M&Ms? She was like, yes, Dad. And I was like, oh, okay, good. No pushback or anything. This works out. I don't have to DoorDash. So, and she walks in their Easter version. Of course, I didn't want to be ugly because I wasn't in a position to be ugly. But I didn't want the Easter egg colored M&M. I wanted just regular peanut M&M. Anyways, okay. I got a problem. I'm putting it out there. Y'all keep laughing, but y'all need to have sympathy and forgiveness and compassion. Okay. But I really have. I've literally eaten a bucket a week since Thanksgiving. I'm not playing at all. And during the ice storm, everybody's at Sam's getting like heaters and all that stuff. I'm telling y'all what, I swear to y'all, I parked in Sam's, I went into Sam's, I got peanut M&Ms, I checked out and walked out. And Lindsay said, and my daughter said, what'd you get at Sam's? I said, huh? What'd you get at Sam's? I was like, M&Ms? They're like, what else you get? I was like, nothing. And they're like, 3 weeks ago, we were sitting at a ball game, and Lindsay goes, because I got a little pack of M&Ms, because they had those too at the ball game, because I didn't have my thing. And she's like, Ryan, you really got to stop. And I said, no. And she looked it up. She's like, there's 11,000 calories in that bucket. And she's like, and that's not only the sweet stuff you eat. So I stopped. I confess, I stopped. I repented, and I gave it up. So why do I share that with you? I enjoy them, right? Mind you, I never cared. If there was 30 kind of things at the gas station, in no way in the world would I ever grab a pack of those. But somehow, I got on it, and I got on it, right? But I continued a pattern. I enjoyed it, blah, blah, blah. The end result is there are repercussions to it, right? But I didn't see the outcome, didn't care to see it because of why? Obviously, eventually, I'm going to I have lost a couple pounds since I quit doing M&Ms too, by the way. But you understand what I'm saying? So in life, a lot of times, and we look through things, we do things unintentionally. We enjoy them. They become part of our DNA, who we are. We don't see anything big about it. When I'm sitting there watching TV, I'm eating something. It normalizes, right? But I'm not looking at the outcome because maybe I don't want to see it or face it or understand it or have accountability for it, right? But obviously that's not healthy, and there's repercussions to that. We serve a God that started from day one, before he even was born, and he was targeted for what he was going to do for us. All his life, the scriptures, all the things that he went through, he spoke. It was a consistent pattern he gave us. An example of in scripture, of love, of kindness, of just this outpouring of selfless acts for others. And I believe that we serve a God that was crucified, but he was resurrected. We get to celebrate that this weekend. It's also a time for us to put it out there to receive what he's willingly always given us. So we can stop certain patterns. Sometimes we need people to tell us it's 11,000 calories. But we have to be in those environments to receive that too. You gotta be okay with that. But you look at this, and we serve a God, He knew it and He still did it. What would you do in your life if you felt like God was leaning on you, regardless of what the obstacles were to get there? Because you knew that God put that on you as your purpose, as your mission, as your whatever word you want to use there. Are you willing to stay the path with consistency in how your life is projected and who you are, inside and out, not just for show, for the outcome of what He's already predestined for you to receive? It's a grind. Some of it's shorter, some of it's longer. One of the greatest books is Think and Grow Rich, I think. It's an incredible book, I think, if I've got that right. Carnegie. And one of the greatest books I got from that is 3 Feet from Gold. You check that out sometime. I've talked about it before. The guy sold his claim because he didn't hit a line, and he sold it for a little nothing. And then the guy that got it dug 3 more feet and then hit gold, and it was like the biggest gold. Blah, blah, blah. He became this gazillionaire, and the guy that quit didn't. He was 3 feet away from that, right? You may be 3 feet away from the greatest thing in your life to happen, the greatest change in your life, the greatest marriage, or the greatest job, or the greatest relief of just hurt and pressure. You may just be right there. But it's staying that path and knowing I'm going to do it because Chris don't get it, Brian, you don't get it, but I know He spoke to me, and I'm just going to stay the path. He knew it, He still did it. Praise God. Praise God. Right? All right, guys, pray out of your groups, and thank you so much, and I hope y'all have a great rest of the week. Thank you.